Hello, everyone. My name is Wanjiru Nguhe, and welcome to the third episode of the Move Africa podcast. And the third episode is what we are calling the Free Movement. Today, I am joined by two of wonderful Africans that I have met on the Move Africa data storytelling. One of them, his name is Akin, and the other one, her name is Morake. Akin is from Nigeria, and yes, so they have been doing stories. They have used their data storytelling skills to tell stories about Africans moving through the continent. I will allow them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their story. So welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Akin and Morake. It's so good to see you in person. I know we've had a lot of online and email conversations, but it's good to see you in person. Karibu. Welcome, and please, introduce yourself. I'll start with you, Akin. Just a little bit of who you are, what you do, and what your story was about.
All right, thank you. My name is Akin Olatudoye from Nigeria. I am a development practitioner as well as a project management specialist. My data story on migration was a sort of timeline trace of migration towards one of the most historic trade corridors in Africa, which is the Sahara Trade Route Corridor. So I traced the evolution of trade and also other forms of movement and development across this vast stretch of desert, which has also been a super highway. And I discovered a lot of very, very interesting things using both the visualization tools and techniques that I was introduced to during the fellowship, as well as what I would call a real Pan-African learning experience for me.
Fantastic. I can't wait for you to talk about that. We are also joined by Morake. Morake, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do and also a little bit about your documentary.
Okay, great. Hello, my name is Itimina Morake. I am a filmmaker from Botswana. I am a founder of a beautiful company called Final Frame. At Final Frame, we also we pride ourselves in creating content that is diverse, that is relatable to a global audience. 2025 Move Africa, yay! And as fellow, I believe in schools that cross borders and celebrate who we really are. I did a documentary between migration between Botswana and Zimbabwe, a story called Crossing Borders, which is a documentary about a hardworking woman called Catherine Sikali. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I remember even before we began the data storytelling and we were seeing the pitches, I was very excited to read about both of these stories. And so I'll start with you, Akin. You said that there were very interesting things that you learned when you were looking at this superhighway across the desert. What is the surprising thing that you discovered, when you were doing your story and even when you were learning about this movement and this, superhighway across the desert?
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, what I discovered was the immense commodity value chains that have dominated this particular trade corridor. So for example, I did discover that gold, which was one of the very highly valuable commodities that was traded from over 800 centuries, 800 years, when the flow of humans actually started around here. Gold is still being traded, even not across the trade corridor, but it is still the mainstay of many of the countries that are on this corridor. So that was a fascinating thing to see that there was indeed...
That's fantastic,
there's indeed an enduring value chain of some particular commodities. And although that has been fragmented by other developments that caught up with this particular corridor, such as colonization,
Yeah.
which essentially fragmented these countries into sovereign entities. But on the whole, you still see
Yeah.
that, yeah, some of those commodities that were traded historically still have relevance now. So that was one of the very interesting things that I discovered. And maybe I'll just add
Yes.
this for gender, for a very well gendered data storytelling of migration. So what?
Yeah.
So I discovered that some of the historic centers, that pulled or were sort of attractions for migration, such as the Al Fatid, such as the Al Qaim Mosque in Morocco, was actually founded by a woman who was a very famed scholar. And this particular university is the oldest continuously running university in the world. So that was very interesting to see that even in contemporary times, there's a gender dimension to migration, but it's to see that even historically, there was also this element, of how you had very, very remarkable stories that were gendered and actually also contributed to significant migration along this corridor. Those were very.
I love that so much because I also didn't. Yeah. Yeah, I love
Thank
that
you.
so much. Thank you so much, Akin, and thank you so much, even even for doing the work that brings those kinds of facts even to us, because we would not know this if we don't engage with stories like this, and also if we don't have people who have actually visited there and gone to see for themselves that gender is not something that came with the with colonialism, but colonialism really just interrupted even how we interact with one another. Over to you, Morake. What was a surprising thing that you learned even when you were doing your documentary, or something that you were surprised to learn, something that you didn't know but you were like, oh, wait a minute, yeah.
I think that a filmmaker and a storyteller, we normally use create stories for maybe something that is close to your heart. And you realize that once I was part of the data storytelling course, I learned that really data and numbers really matter. My documentary Crossing Borders, which followed Catherine Sikale, I realized that I think a lot of people really do move, yes, and the numbers really show. And when you look at Catherine's story, you see that, as in, look at where I am right now. This is me crossing borders. So we are,
Yes.
we are really, we as women, we are working hard to provide for our families, no matter how hard it is. And because my migration was more focused between Zimbabwe and Botswana, I realized that a lot of people moved between 2002 and 2009. That's a long time back, I know. But because it was due to maybe the political unrest that happened in Zimbabwe. So that's when a lot of people really moved. That's what I really like. I would actually just put you my story, like, what questions, okay, I really had to see what cost the move, what are the numbers saying, so that's what I've learned during this whole journey.
Yes, and then just a follow-up, did the data confirm what you already believed about African travel, or did it challenge what you believed about Africans traveling?
I think, to my surprise, I know a lot of people move because life is hard, but when I look at the numbers and they really showed me that it's not only Catherine who's going through this alone, there are actually numbers that back up the whole story to see that it's not only one person. So the numbers really showed me that it's bigger than we actually know,
Yes. Yeah. All right, I appreciate that so much, and I like how you've personalized, how women are always looking for, like, you have to fight for your life, you have to fight for your family. To you, Akin, when
Yeah.
did the story that you've done become personal to you? When was it not just about the numbers and about the gold, but when did it become personal to you? Because me and Morake can agree that women are always going to do whatever it is we need to do for our families, and so we can relate to her, moving across the border, for our family. But what about you? And it doesn't have to be gendered, but how
Okay.
personal did it get for you?
All right. Thank you very much. First of all, it was a very vicarious experience because going into the fellowship, what I had in mind
Yeah.
was to do something like a fictional story. Um, and
Yeah.
when I saw the scope of the fellowship, I decided to now use it as a kind of research material, for my fictional
Yes.
story. Um, and like I
Yeah.
mentioned in my opening remarks, what became very personal for me was to see how much of the continent I got to know by researching, the timelines along the Sahara Trade
Yeah.
Corridor. So, for example, um, there were locations in West and North Africa, that I had never learnt of before, and just learning about those places, the stories, sort of ignited this passion in me to see more of the continent. I've been to
Yeah.
a number of countries in West Africa. But I mean,
Okay.
just just getting to experience, I'll call it a culture shock, but also a very good learning experience. Just sort of ignited this desire in me to see more of the continent and to actually experience what it would be like migrating across those borders.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm just curious, how many African countries have you been to? The both of you, starting with Morake, so that now we can see what, like, if there were no visas, or I mean, of course, we would need to have documentation. But if there were no visas and there was no restriction on some of the countries that there are restrictions, what would be the first thing you would do?
Okay.
Starting with
Wow.
you, Morake, you seem excited. It's like you already have a
I'm
plan.
actually thinking about it right now. uh,
Yeah.
I think, oh, as a storyteller, obviously I'll go across Africa to film my stories, provided there's a budget, obviously.
Yeah.
I think I have been to
Yes.
Greece, and I feel like they have really nice structures that can create very beautiful movies. Okay, maybe the part that I've been
Okay.
to, yes, yes. Then I
Okay.
would definitely want to collaborate with my Zimbabwean fellows to do movies.
Okay.
Yes, we all know that Nigeria has like the largest population in Africa, right? If I'm right. Yes,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
imagine my stories.
Yeah.
The bigger the audience for my stories, it will reach a lot of people. And I also,
Yes.
who do you want to meet? What's her name? I hope I say it right. I don't know if her name is Pinky. She's one of the best female directors in Nigeria. I really want to learn from
Okay. Okay.
her. So I would
Yes.
definitely move to Nigeria. Kim, I would definitely move to
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Okay.
All right. All
Okay.
right. What
You're
about you,
welcome.
Akin? What is the
Oh,
first thing you would do if visas and restrictions and all these things were not in the conversation? Like if you were African James Bond without without the visas.
okay. So, so I think I would actually, yeah. So first of all, I would just travel to all the locations that I've discovered in the the Move Africa project that I did, and actually have an immersive experience for the world building of my of my fictional project, which is also on migration. So I think that's what I'll first do. I'll
Yeah.
just just have that work study tour and make sure I visit all
Yeah.
those locations. Yeah.
All those African countries, yes. Every time we're speaking about a borderless Africa, and by borderless we mean where there are no restrictions. And many times of course, we're talking about ourselves and as young people. And so my question would be, what is the problem with, like, according to the work that you've done, what do you think the problem is when it comes to moving across these countries, like within the continent? Is it a money problem? Is it a culture problem? Is it a mindset problem? Like, what is really the problem, that is slowing down, the implementation of the free movement protocol? I will start with you, Morake. What do you think it is? Or is it a combination of things, or, yeah?
I think the biggest one is strict policies and the mistrust between African countries. If you can go to a border to try to cross, for example, to Zimbabwe, you have no idea how many forms you have to fill. I remember one of the I remember one of the migrants in the story that I did. She said, I didn't use that line. She said there is actually a lot of, it's like a maze of forms. So you can imagine how hard it is. So I think if we can maybe try to accommodate people before we put strict policies, because I feel like even if limited resources are there, people can actually move to a different country and start a life, provided the police is not strict. Yes, money and other things, yes, do matter, but strict policies are actually tying us to a point where you can't even want to go visit and just go for location scouting, for example, just to see if I was to do a movie here, what would it look like? Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. I'm so sad to hear that there's so much mistrust, especially within countries that are neighbor or like neighboring one another, because like essentially we should be building integration. Like, I know that there's a difference between integration and all of these things, but if we cannot achieve integration, then it becomes even more difficult to say, okay, then we can have a free movement. And I don't know whose responsibility that is. Yes. So what about you, Akin? What do you think the challenge is in free movement?
Okay.
Even with the work that you've done, or even with what you've learned on the work that you've done? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I was able to look through an historical lens through the work that I did, and I saw that partly, comparing that to the realities of today, I saw that there's a cultural dimension to the problem. There's also an infrastructural dimension to the problem. More like what Morake said, there's always been tension between groups, cultural groups or nations. So from the work that I did, I saw that the Sahara trade route was actually controlled. It wasn't, it was free to a large extent, but then you had kingdoms, you had kingdoms, you had cities, you had towns that were actually founded on the principle, on the idea of actually controlling those trade routes. So you've always had border posts, and I think that by the time there was colonization and we had all these quasi nations, it even became worse. So I think that there's a cultural dimension to that. One thing that I also discovered from my work was the fact that infrastructure can actually play a very key role in accelerating this vision of free movement. I actually included data. So I said I also found out data about the Trans-Saharan highway project, which seeks to link a number of countries, along this historic Sahara trade route. So it was fascinating to see that, for example, sections of the Trans-Saharan highway has been able to accelerate travel, between the countries, like Niger, Mali, Tunisia, Morocco, so So a journey that would typically take 30 days before, has been reduced to like 48 hours now. So, but I saw that there are still gaps even with this infrastructural rollout. So, for example, I think that if the Trans-Saharan Highway actually connected more historic centers on this route, because there's also a very big potential for tourism, I think that that would be one way of actually integrating the continent better, and actually just have more strategic linkages to also more trading towns, to more value chain, commodity value chains, more markets. I think the integration would actually be accelerated if this was done. So culturally, I think there's a challenge with seeing this free movement protocol come to life, and but I think that infrastructure, also linking the cultural and the historic heritages that we have across the continent can also accelerate, the integration. Thank you.
How do you think is the most effective way for this policy, especially for the free movement protocols to be ratified? Because I learned that we only have 4 countries who have actually ratified the free movement protocol, which is Kenya, Ghana, Botswana. No, is it Botswana? No, sorry. Burkina Faso and Rwanda. But then, surprisingly, we have very many African states, around 11 African states, who have ratified the policy on trade. So that says that it's easier for Africans to trade with one another than it is to actually just integrate and to travel within each other's borders, which is interesting, because if we can trade with one another, then why is it not that much easier for people to be able to travel, to each other's countries? So my question, and I know I've really talked a lot. My question is, how do you think, or how do you feel, how do we need to tell these stories in a way that would reach the policymakers and the heads of states and the people who are responsible for making sure that we can freely travel within the continent? We can start with you, Akin.
Okay, so I think that data can actually be used to provide compelling business cases, for this kind of integration. So, like I mentioned earlier, from the work that I did, of course, I was able to collect data that actually showed very visible gains or very visible advantages of developing infrastructure across Africa that links up together. So I already talked to you about how a journey that would take 30 days by camel trek would now take about 48 hours by lorry or by a car. So I think that when we use data to sort of bring out, this growing positive stories, of what integration is doing, say, for example, linking Africa by road. By the way, you asked the question about how many African countries we've traveled to, and in my head, I just sort of split them into African countries that I've traveled to by road and those that I've traveled to by air, and
by air,
and so and I think that I think that the journeys that I made by road, I found pretty more interesting. I interacted more. I learned more. I learned more, even in terms of what sort of resources, what sort of attractions the country has, because I was able to travel to the countryside. So I think that when we have data, that can back up sort of these immersive experiences, we can use it to provide a good business case to show policymakers that we go in this direction in integrating the country more, the continent more. We actually all stand to benefit more. Yeah, thank you.
To benefit, absolutely, because people do respond to money and conversations about how they can make more money and how they stand to benefit. What about you, Morake? Especially as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, yes.
What was the question again? Sorry.
The question was, how do you think we can use our stories to reach to policymakers?
Oh, okay, yes.
Or what do you think we need to focus? Yes, or what do you think we need to focus on? What would they most respond to?
Okay. As a storyteller, I think when we spark conversation amongst as a citizens, obviously once we start talking, people are having their opinion about it. Obviously, to reach policymakers and see what our citizens are saying. Okay, and then I think the other thing look at African Union right now. It's part of these mobility stories. Automatically, it means it's reaching people who can actually help in these policies to really be, maybe instead of being strict, to be a bit reduced, so that they can accommodate migrants and just Africans who want to move from this country to another. You know?
Yeah.
Is that my mic?
Is that, yeah, I don't know. I think so, but we are. You okay now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I think the narrative obviously starts from citizens sparking conversations about migration, and then the more people talk about it, the more it can reach maybe policymakers to actually try to bring down the strict policies. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, you're making sense, because once the people own the right for them to travel, because traveling is a right. I mean, access is a right. I learned just the other day when I was speaking to Dr. Oluwefemi. I hope I'm not butchering his name.
No,
and he was
no,
talking about access. Yes, and he was. I got it, thank you.
Yeah.
And he was talking about access, and he was saying access is an actual right. But if citizens within the continent are not aware that access is a right, then it becomes a challenge for even them to push for more, for less strict border, less strict access into each other's countries. And I know that, it's a conversation that we have to start, and I'm glad that we have begun. Another thing I wanted to find out, as a call to action, if you could send one message, or if you could say something to African citizens, what would that message be? I know we're talking about having conversations with citizens and but if we were to speak to citizens, just generally, if Africa was what would we say to them? I'll start with you, Akin.
Oh, wow. I would say we are too connected to be apart. That's what I would say to them.
Yeah.
We have connections that are historical. We have connections that are enduring, and the more we learn about one another, the more we actually see that we are connected, and it just makes sense for us to stay integrated and even more connected. That's what I would just simply say. We are too connected to be apart.
That's true.
Connected to be apart.
To be apart, it's true. You're very right. Actually, I was speaking to someone yesterday on this same podcast, and she was talking about how the music is different, but it's almost this, it's similar, but it's different. So you will hear a beat in Botswana, you will hear a beat in Nigeria, you will hear something, and it's all of it. I like what you said. We are more connected than we're apart. What about you, Morake?
Yeah, our music is like a universal language.
Do you see?
Yeah, we can actually be really grateful to Nigerian music, like we own it. But we do. But one message that I'll say is I feel like borders really divide us. If we were to come together as one, I think as Africans we can actually do amazing things.
That's true. Yeah. That's right. That's true.
Yeah, unity makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Makes us stronger.
True, yes. No, I agree with you. Many of the things that we've been able to do, even with regard to even standing in solidarity with one another against bad governance, even how we come together, it is really incredible what we can do when we do come together. I've seen that solidarity across. Now the final question is, what would you want us to take from your work? I know for you, Morake, your work is not yet out there, but once it does get out, what do you want us to take from your work?
I
I'll start
think,
with you, Morake, sorry.
okay, yeah. I think, like I mentioned in the beginning, is Catherine is not the only person with that beautiful story. The numbers actually really show that
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who are moving, and if things were really made easier for them, they could bring like amazing things. For example, where I come from in Botswana, we actually have like in our school curriculum we have subject option where you can actually learn French. So imagine people actually invested in learning French, but also after school that advanced. We have countries, African countries that speak French, like I think Mauritius. I don't know if Algeria speaks French also, but yeah. So it can open actually a lot of doors for African free movement. I can actually go and be in a French-speaking country and then grow my career. You know what I mean? There are actually people that I want to school with that really advanced from the curriculum to actually make it a living the language, learning the language. And the other thing is where I come from in Botswana, when we grew up, one of families used to take their kids to Zimbabwe because they believe the education is much better than where I come from. I don't know about that. I'm not an expert. I don't know the truth in that, but I know that one of them used to take their kids to study in Zimbabwe because they believe it's better. So imagine free movements like that. You can actually choose to study where you want. You know, you don't need a visa to go and study somewhere else.
Abroad.
Yeah, you know. So I think if free movement really was to happen today, I think as Africans will really be far. Because, like you said, we should collaborate with IKEA. So imagine IKEA is a...
You should!
as a beautiful writer.
We should.
Yes.
And then we bring children. So I think we should really see that Catherine story is not alone. There are so many people actually going through the same to try to make a living outside their home, you know. So people should learn that if you really want something, also you can actually really work hard and achieve whatever you want.
I hear you. Thank you so much. What about you, Akin?
Okay, so what I would most like for the organizers and the supporters
and the policymakers
of the fellowship and the policymakers
free movement,
from my work, is the opportunity for more connected migration. So I discovered from the work that I did that there is immense potential beyond just even trading, which was the main thrust of the Trans-Saharan trade corridor. But beyond trading, there are even more opportunities like boosting tourism and cultural preserving and having like a very, very vibrant sort of a cultural heritage industry. And I think that this is something that should be invested in. I think that this is something that should be talked more about. For example, hello,
I can hear you.
Hello,
okay, I can hear you.
So, for example,
you're good. Yes, I can hear you.
So I discovered that. I did discover that there are a number of very, very, very historic centers on the Trans-Saharan trade corridor, which have now fallen into oblivion because there isn't tourism. First of all, there isn't enough even knowledge or awareness about the immense historical value, the immense tourism value that these centers have. So I think that the opportunity to improve tourism, which would be like a shared kind of prosperity, even across across the continent, I think the opportunity should be taken seriously. Strategic investments should be made, in site restoration, in security, and in cross-border collaboration. So those would be the things I would love to see taken up and taken forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Akin and Morake. I can't wait for more people to actually read your article and for more people to watch your video. Morake will be sharing the details on how people can get to your work and to see your documentary, and also where we can get to read about the Trans-Saharan. Hey, my God,
yeah, it's okay.
The Trans-Saharan trade. Thank you so much for. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Thank you so much for being part of the Data Storytelling Fellowship and also for using your skills to tell this story. And thank you to our viewers and our listeners for listening to us. I will see you on the next episode. Thank you. Have a good night, good day, good morning, whatever time it is that you're listening to us. Thank you and have a good one.